we will start our interreligious prayer and talk followed by that. As you are aware, Ashirwad is continually striving to foster interreligious harmony by promoting sharing of religious experience. It is also partly, in a way, upholding a culture of peace and harmony. Therefore, this Ashirwad interreligious harmony movement is a forum to pray, to share religious experience, and to be the agents of religious harmony. And today we have Mr. Sheriyar Vakil, ex-managing director of GAL Medical Systems, and he will be leading us into prayer. So I welcome Mr. Vakil to start our today's interreligious prayer and meeting with the prayer.
I shall start by taking, we have 101 names for the Almighty. I shall recite that first and then have some short prayers. Yazad Harvaspatwan Harvaspat Khuda Abada Abyanjam Bunashte Frakshtan Jamaga Parjata Tretum Afrik Abrawan Parwanda Anayana Hamayana Adaro Gira Achem Chamna Safna Afja Nasha Parvara Ainaine Anainaine Aina Proshitum Minotum Masna Harvastum Husepas Harik Fare Harnek Fare Beshtarna Tarunish Anushak Farshak Pajodatat Kwafar Afkashayim Aharza Asoto Raho Varun Afrifta Befrefta Adui Kamrat Franman Kam Aikatan Afar Mosh Hamarna Sanai Atas Abish Avrajdum Hamchun Minotgar Aminogar Minonab Adar Badgar Adar Namgar Bad Adargar Bad Namgar Bad Gelgar Bad Geratum Adar Kibritum Bad Garjai Aptum Gel Adargar Gel Vatkar Gel Namgar Gargar Garogar Garagar Garagar Gar Agaragar Gar Agaragar Gar Gar Aguman Azman Khwa Amshad Fashutna Padmani Firozgar Khudawan Auramaz Abrin Kohantuan Abrin Notwan Waspan Waspar Khabar Abu Avksha Dadar Rayoman Khoreman Davar Kerfegar Bokhtar Farshogar. Having recited these names, I'll recite some short prayers. Ashem Vahu Vahestamasti Ustasti Ustamai Yadeshai Vahesta Eshem Yathahu Verio Yatharatus Yatharachi Rachao Wangeus Dasdao Maningo Shautranam Ingos Mazdai Shautrim Chai Haurai Ayim Dare Grupio Dadat Vastarim Kemna Mazda Moitipayam Dadat Hayat Drigo Distari Arange Anyam Thwamat Atrascha Manegascha Yayo Shautnain Hashem Thro Aura Tam Nui Daivtam Danya Froscha Kivertharem Jay Thawa Pot Sanga Henti Chitra Moy Dam Moshim Artum Chisti Aura Sarosti Jantum Manangai Mazda Yamaiti Vashi Kamchaitit Pata Ni Tishmiato Pairi Mazdata Armaischa Spentascha Nasedeva Druksh Nasedeva Chetre Nasedevo Frakraste Nasedevo Apadruksh Nasedeva Druksh Dore Apadruksh Vanse Apadaka Apanasche Ma Meneschi Gaitio Astrid Ashae Nimascha Ya Armaistischa Hashem Mahu Estamasti Ustasti Ustamai Yadeshai Vaista Hashem Hormazda Khodai Hormazda Khodai Adharam Awadesham Duravastar Zat Kaset Bad Arban Devan Daru Jan Daduwan Darvandan Ki Khan Sastaran Gunegaran Ashmogan Darvendan Dushman Frian Zat Skrecho Bad Duspacha Hatsad Avedashan Bad Dushman Sato Bad Dushmana Avashudan Bad Hormaz Khodai Ajama Guna Patet Pashamanu Ajavasni Dushmata, Dushukta, Dushuvarista, Mempegatimani, Oim Gof, Oim Kard, Oim Just, Oim Bun, Bun Bujaste, Azam Guna, Manashni, Gavashni, Tani Ravani, Getimioni, Okevaks, Pasheman, Pa Gavashni, Pa Patet Home. Shnotarore Mazdav, Taroidite, Angramenios, Haitya Vashnam, Hayat Vasnam, first themes, Tomai Ashem, Ashem Vahu, Vestamasti, Ustasti, Ustamai, Yadeshai, Vesta Ashem, Yatahu Verio, Yataratus, Yatarati, Rachao, Wangeus, the Down Maningo, Shautananam, and Goes Vazdai, Shautrim Chai, Aurai, I am Dare Grupio, Dadat Vestarim. Ashem Vahu, Vestamasti, Ustasti, Ustamai, Yadeshai, Vesta Ashem. Jasme avange mazda mazdayasni mazdayasni zartostre frvarane astueti frvasche astio humuntam mano astio hukatem bacho astio harvastem shotram astue darna mangoish mazdayasni frayardo nidastianim kabestyanim ainohim yavenscha bustak chaicha masir chaicha vashistaischa sreshtaischa Ya Auraish Zartustri, Aura Mazda, Vispa, Vahu Chintamani, Aha, Ani Dino, Mazdash no Astuetish, Shem Vahu, Vesta Masti, Ustasti, Ustamai, Yadeshai, Vesta, Shem. Shnotar Aure Mazdao, Shem Vahu, Vesta Masti, Ustasti, Ustamai, Yadeshai, Vesta, Shem. Paname Azdan, Hormazda Khodai, Avajuni, Gorje Khore Vazayat, Sarosh Asho, Takitaru Farman, Shekhaf the Jeen or Jar, Salare Damane, Aura Mazda, Beresad, Ahama Guna, Patet Pashemanu, Ar Harvastin, Dushmatta, Dushukta, Dushvarta, Mempagati Mani, Oim Gof, Oim Kard, Oim Just, Oim Boon, Boon Bujaste, Esma Guna, Manashni, Gavashni, Kunashni, Tani Ravani, Getimioani, Okevaks, Pasheman, Pap Gavashni, Pap Patet Home. Yatahu Vedio, Yataratus, Yatarati, Chachao, Wangeus, Dasdao Maningo, Shotananam, and Goes Mastai, Shautrim Chai, Aurai, I am Darek Rupio, Dadat Vastarim, Yatahu Vedio, Yataratus, Yatarati, Chachao, Wangeus, Dasdao Maningo, Shotananam, and Goes Mastai, Shautrim Chai, Aurai, I am Darek Rupio, Dadat Vastarim, Yatahu Vedio, Yataratus, Yatarati, Chachao, Wangeus, Dasdao Maningo, Shautananam and Gosmasdai, Shautrim Chai, Aurai, I am Dare Grupio, Dadat Vastarim, Yatahu Verio, Yataratu, Sitarati, Tachao, Wangeus, Dasdao Maningo, Shautananam and Gosmasdai, Shautrim Chai, Aurai, I am Dare Grupio, Dadat Vastarim, Yatahu Verio, Yataratu, Sitarati, Tachao, Wangeus, Dasdao Maningo, Shautananam and Gosmasdai, Shautrim Chai, Aurai, I am Dare Grupio, Dadat Vastarim. Ammai Rasche, Khore Rasche, Ammai Tanvo, Darvo Tatam, Ammai Tanvo, Vasdovare, Ammai Tanvo, Veritharem, Ammai Tanvo, Periko Kavatrim, Ammai Amaschit, Fraswanti, Amaste, Daroganjiti, Ammai Varistram, Ashum Raj Game, Vaspakhatrem, Atha Jamyat, Yatafranami, Shem Vahu, Vestamasti, Ustasti, Ustamai, Yedeshai, Vesta, Shem. Azangaram Besejanam, Beuvare Besejanam, Azangaram Besejanam, Beuvare Besejanam, Azangaram Besejanam, Beuvare Besejanam. Just me Avange Mazdao, just me Avange Mazdao, just me Avange Mazdao. Just me Avange Mazdao, Avange Mazdao, just me. Amahe Bushtaide Buratatne, Veretham Gate, Abratuvante, Vanantiascha, Uparato, Ramno Kosto. Vainos, Apraskaste, Taradite, Ainias, Daman, Artat, Kevayo, Yat, Astento Menu, Twaste, Fadate, Arvine, Karvane, Svane, Dargo Kodate, Ashem Bahu, Estamasti, Ustasti, Ustamai, Adeshai, Vesta, Hashem. Kerfe Mazda, Guna Gudastera, Ashoravan, Dushmata, Ham Kerfe, Hamaviane, Hafta Keshwar, Zamin, Zamin Piana, Rudi Rana, Dipetya Tirzaisi, Atha Jamyat, Yata Afrinami, Shem Bahu, Vestamasti, Ustasti, Ustamai, Yadeshai, Vesta, Shem. Father, this prayer was basically, we perform this prayer when we have that little string wrapped around our waist, just like the Brahmins who have their strings across their chest. And when we open this, we pray this. When we again tie the knot, we pray this. This string in the waist clearly delineates the good from the evil, ensures that the good will overcome the evil. Very much like Christianity also, where you have your Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee, blessed art thou amongst women, blessed art thou, and Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of death, amen. Similarly, same thing you will find in the Sikh community, in the Muslim community, in all religions you'll find the same prayers in different languages with different pronunciations, but all leading to the righteous path of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, leading ultimately to the one and only Almighty. Amen.
So thank you very much for that prayer and also giving us the gist of prayer, what you have been doing. I am very grateful to you. I am unfortunate that you can't be with us since you have to join the another meeting. So on behalf of this group, I thank you very much for joining us. And I expect you to join our regular online meetings and prayers, second Sunday and fourth Sunday.
Always Prakash makes it a point. He won't let me go like Margaret.
Okay, so thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patient hearing. God bless you. And I hope that you will all be free of this pandemic, this indestructible virus as we seem to see. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vakil sir. Hope we have not delayed you.
No, I'm just rushing off to the other meeting.
Yes. So wish all the best to your other meeting.
10 more minutes, not to hurry. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Now we will move on to the second part of our meeting. We have with us Dr. Ali Khwaja. Let me give a brief introduction of Dr. Ali. A Montessorian, an engineering graduate of Institute of Science and IIT Bombay, MIE and MMIM with a PhD in behavioral sciences. He has always carved out his own path and been a freelancer, ensuring that work is joy every day. He is invited regularly to conduct workshops or lectures for defense, central government, prestigious national institutions, schools and colleges. But he prefers to be informal, learning while he teaches, and being honest and congruent in whatever he says or does. He is the founder and chairman of Banjara Academy, a unique institution committed to improvement of quality of life. He nurtures and motivates over 300 volunteers to give free service in 10 hospitals and the Academy's own counseling centers. He conducts a very popular and practical one-year part-time diploma in counseling skills and a 6-month certificate in life skills. He has written over 30 books and 80 booklets in all practical aspects of day-to-day life and writes regular columns and articles in many reputed publications and edits a unique newsletter. His videos on Banjara's website get thousands of viewers from all over the world. Notwithstanding all that, he loves all human beings alike. He is willing to listen, and his prime focus is on empowering individuals to help themselves. Dr. Ali, we are happy that you are with us this evening to inspire us. We have chosen the theme, unlocking our minds, perhaps also with our minds, our hearts as well. And for Dr. Ali is also a friend of Ashirwad. He has been associated with various works and programs of Ashirwad. And we are very happy that you are back with us on this online interreligious prayer and meeting. A warm welcome to you. And over to you. You have around 30 minutes for your presentation. After that, we will have interactions, some questions and clarifications. Dr. Ali, welcome once again and over to you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Father. Today, the topic, as Father said just now, is about unlocking our minds. I was reminded of a book called Man's Search for Meaning. It was written by a psychiatrist who went through imprisonment in the Second World War in the German concentration camps. His name was Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was imprisoned by the Germans and treated in the most horrible conditions. We've all heard of the concentration camps of Hitler. He was there. Now, Viktor Frankl was not a soldier. There were the soldiers who were captured by Hitler and put in the concentration camps. Young men, very strong and very fit. Viktor Frankl was a doctor. He was a psychiatrist. He was a middle-aged man. Yet he realized that as the days of the concentration camp went on and the utter torture that happened, he saw left, right, and center very young, fit, and strong soldiers dying. And he saw that some of the other people who are much softer, much less strong, who should have actually died and not died. Then he realized that it is not the body that keeps a human being alive even in the worst of conditions, it is the mind. And what he did throughout his imprisonment was, he would sit and visualize what life will be once the war is over. Once I'm released from this concentration camp, what will I be doing? And he would visualize to the minutest thing. I would be sitting in my drawing room. I will have a brown colored carpet. I would be sitting on a sofa like this. I would be having a hot cup of coffee. I would have the fireplace next to me. I will have a pet dog of such and such breed who will be sitting next to me and wagging his tail. The more he kept visualizing, the more he could tolerate the physical torture and pain. It's an excellent example. The book that he wrote has been a bestseller for more than half a century now. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. These are the type of things which make us sit up and think that the mind is ours. Isn't it true that anybody who tries to oppress, anybody who can only affect our body, he or she cannot in any way affect our mind if we decide not to allow him to do that. Now, I want to talk on this topic in conjunction with what has been happening since the pandemic hit us early in this year. As you know, it was one of the most unexpected things. Nobody in their wildest dreams could have visualized that suddenly something so massive will come on us. Not only in the medical terms of affecting people and making people sick or whatever it is, but from the social angle. The very fact that from 23rd March, we went into a complete lockdown, for example. For weeks and weeks, we were on a total lockdown. Slowly, the government started giving permission saying that, okay, unlock 1.0, unlock 2.0, this sort of activity is permitted. You could go get out of the house and do this or that or something. And slowly that unlocking has been happening. But if you have noticed, like Mr. Vakil said right in the beginning, there are people who have locked themselves in for the last 6 months. Even when the authorities have allowed us to step out, we have decided to take precautions. We have decided not to move out. We have decided to stay, locked in. Now, being a social scientist, being a person primarily interested in human behavior and understanding people, reaching out to people in whatever little humble way that I can do, my concern always was on the well-being of people, the mental health, as you would call it. But mental health, even the words have a stigma, so I try to avoid using that, because the moment I say mental health, people can start only thinking of mental illness. They don't realize that mental health is the same like physical health, or even spiritual health for that matter. There could be very good mental health and we can keep improving on it and things of that sort. So with this challenge coming in, I have been observing. You also must have had similar experiences. The first few days turned out as though it was an annual vacation for the whole family. We were getting responses from people saying that, oh, we are so happy we are together and all that. Mr. Vakil also said that, I got to interact more with my wife in these last 5 months than I did in 50 years. Yes, that's what happened to a lot of people. We started spending, obviously, all our time with our loved ones, our family members, and all that. People started playing games at home. People started watching, movies together. People were cooking together. There were these mothers who were happily reporting, saying that my son, who never entered the kitchen, is now sitting with me and cutting vegetables. There were these young mothers who were showing videos of their 3-year-old and 4-year-old who's learning dancing and see how good she is and things of that sort. We are playing board games. So it became like a vacation. Nobody in their wildest dreams, even at that time, realized that this is not going to be for 3 weeks or 5 weeks. It is going to go on and on and on for a very long time. And that is where we miss out very often. We do not realize that everything has a long-term perspective. We look at only the short-term perspective, and that is why we create situations for ourselves. Every time people are saying, let this happen and then I will start moving out. Once that is done, I will start moving out. Very soon the deaths and the infections will come down, then I will move out. Very soon the vaccine will come and then I will move out. Yes, I also hope, pray, and wish that we get a vaccine, that this virus is completely taken over, but that is something purely medical. You and I have no role to play in that. But what we do have a role to play is on how we are controlling our minds. Okay, after the first few weeks were over, as you know, many families refused to step out. Particularly those who had either very senior people at home. My father is 85 years old and he's more vulnerable to any form of infection. So if I step out and come back with the virus, I'm going to pass it on to him. It may be fatal, so I will not step out. The same thing happened to people with children. I don't want my child to get this virus. Even if I am willing to take a risk and move out, I will not do it, because when I come back home, I may infect my child. So with this, what has happened is that innumerable families have slowly started getting on each other's nerves. We find that the vacation period is over, and we have been getting so many cases of depression, obsessive compulsive disorders, children with attention deficit and hyperactivity disorders, violence in different forms, domestic violence, violence against children, violence against women. Most of them, please remember, are not being reported in the media. The media somehow is obsessed with only giving us the facts and so-called numbers of how many people are infected with this and how many recovered, how many died. Throughout that, what is happening? I think the only time the media diverted itself from the COVID virus was when that poor film star committed suicide. And from that time onwards, we have had a second popular topic for the media.
No, he did.
Yes, it was a tragedy. Anybody committing suicide, and more so a young person, is definitely a problem. But then there are thousands of poor people, migrant laborers, farmers who have been committing suicide almost on a daily basis. And nobody seems to even report that, leave alone take concern or do something about it. As responsible citizens, as human beings who consider the entire planet and all other humans as part of our family, it does not matter to us whether it's a top-notch film star or whether it's a migrant labor walking 1,000 miles to try and somehow reach his village. A death is a death. Poverty and starvation is something very, very sad to happen. Now, let me also come back to the family, which is our primary concern. See, human beings are basically social animals. We have always, you read history right from prehistoric days till now, human beings do not live in isolation. They want to have people around us. And what happens when we are deprived of human touch? For example, children who have neither been to school in the last 6 months, nor have they been even allowed to go out and play with their friends. And children keep interacting only with mother, father, or at best some grandmother at home.
ನಿನ್ನೆದು ಅವ್ರು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ್ದಾರ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಇದೆ ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅವರು ಎತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅವರು.
Thank you. Now, the thing is that when we need to do something about this, what is it that we can do when we talk of unlocking our mind? As I said, we have no control over the virus. That's a very medical matter, and I am sure that not only the doctors and paramedical staff who are treating COVID patients, but also the researchers and these and that, they are doing the utmost and the best that they can do, and we just have to, acknowledge whatever they are doing. But from our side, what is it that we need to do? What we need to do is based on something as simple as the serenity prayer. I'm sure all of you have heard it many times. Many of you may be practicing it, but I would still like to repeat it once more. The serenity prayer says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If I develop the wisdom to know what are the things that I can change, and the courage to actually go ahead and change it, and at the same time acknowledge and accept that there are certain things which I cannot change, so let me not keep shouting about it or protesting or grumbling or whatever it is. It is God's will that certain things are beyond my control. When it comes under my control, I will be thankful. As of now, I will acknowledge and accept with serenity that there are certain things which are not in my control. Now that, I think, should be a foundation for us to overcome one of the strongest emotions that has stepped in the last few months, and that is the emotion of fear and anxiety. It is overwhelming, the amount of fear that people have. See, there's a difference between taking precautions and being mortally scared of something. If I have a child who has to go across to the shop to buy something and he has to cross the road, I will probably take precautions and say, no, wait, you're too small, I'll hold your hand and take you. Or I will explain to him how to go about it, or I'll tell him, don't cross the main road, go onto the side road where there isn't much traffic and there is a footpath, go to that shop instead of the shop which is across the main road. I'll take all those precautions. But the moment my child steps out, if I have this morbid fear till the child comes back, is my child dead or alive? Or worse than that, if I refuse to allow my child to step out, saying that so many children die of road accidents, if my child goes out, he will die of road accident, I will never allow my child to go out. That is the type of fear and the type of paranoia that we are undergoing, right now. But if we have some amount of faith, if we understand and acknowledge that these things are likely to happen, they are part of life. People die of various other ailments, people die in accidents, people die of famine and starvation, people die of so many things, but life has to move on. If we can overcome that fear. I was reminded of a very interesting story which was told to me by my grandfather when I was small. It's a story about a Sufi saint. A Sufi saint, along with his wife, was going in a boat. They were crossing some river or sea or whatever it is. He and his wife were in that small boat, and a storm started blowing. Very soon it so happened that the storm started getting worse and worse and worse. And the Sufi's wife started getting very scared. She said, oh my God, we are all going to die. The boat is going to capsize and we will drown. So at one point, the Sufi pulled out one huge dagger and he put it at her neck, his own wife's neck, and said, I don't want you to go on and on and on getting so scared and so paranoid till the boat capsizes. So what I'll do is I'll slit your throat and kill you right now. Be done with it. Instead of getting scared, his wife looked at him and started smiling and laughing. She said, "You love me so much. You are so attached to me. You care for me so much. Do you think you can actually cut my throat and kill me? What are you talking about?" The Sufi put the knife back in its sheath and said, "Yes. You have so much faith in your husband that he will not kill you. How come you do not have faith in God that he will not kill you? He will not, allow this boat to drown." That these are the very simple messages that we have, I'm sure most of us have carried with us from childhood, regardless of the faith and regardless of which family we grew up in. But now the time has come to fulfill those things. It is the time to ensure that the social interaction and the emotional interaction is not disturbed. Because I'm getting more and more concerned that the more this lockdown is going to continue, that is the mental lockdown, the self-imposed lockdown. The government has almost opened out everything. I mean, for you and me, we can do anything and go anywhere that we want. So there's hardly any restriction from the authorities. No, but our own lockdowns that have happened can have a devastating effect if we do not allow our minds to open out. There are innumerable activities that we can do. The small things that we can do. I was so happy. One of my students, her sister happened to be a school teacher in a small village in Dakshin Kannada district, near Udupi. She said, "My sister, being a teacher, has nothing to do. Schools are closed down." So she waited 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Then what she did was, she started going to the house of one student, sit with that student for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, open the books, ask the child to read something, explain something, and move on to the next. Slowly what she did was, there's a temple near their village with a huge compound and a nice big tree. She said, "I started calling 5 children at a time to come and sit, 6 feet away from each other under the shadow of that tree. And 5 children at a time, I have been conducting lessons for them, 1 hour, 2 hours. And she said, more than what I am teaching them, I see the glow on their faces. I see the way they get thrilled when they see their friends. They're not allowed to go and sit next to each other or touch each other. She enforces that. But she says just being in the presence of their friends after so many months gives them so much joy. Including being in the presence of their teacher gives them so much joy. These are the type of things, which each one of us can do. I'm sure she's taking all the precautions. I'm sure none of those 5 children at a time, that she's going in batches of 5, so I don't know how many children she has reached out to by now. I'm sure none of those children have acquired COVID through this process of teaching that she is doing. So if schools have to remain closed, so be it. But within the parameters, within the rules and regulations, within the societal norms, within the apprehensions and fear that we have, there are small baby steps that each one of us can take. Are we looking out for each other? Are we checking out? I even started telling people when this lockdown was getting extended, one simple activity you can do is check out the contacts in your phone. Other than your own family members or your dearest friends, we always have a list of so many others. There may be this plumber who, whenever I call him, he immediately comes. For the last 6 years, he has been so nice and efficient. There may be a shopkeeper whose phone number I've kept because if I want to buy something, I call him up and check whether he has got it and then go and buy. And he's always been very obliging. He keeps things for me. He never overcharges me like that. So go through that and just start making phone calls. And saying what? Hey Gidira, how are you? Just called up to inquire your welfare. I have no work with you. Many of my friends and my students started doing that. And the effect was amazing. The same thing we took up, a small project under BBMP, the municipality. they allotted to us 8 wards of the BBMP, which come under Hebal constituency. And they said, all the people who are declared COVID positive by hospital, not the ones who are asymptomatic and who are at home, those who have been hospitalized, we will give you their phone numbers, make a phone call as counselors, volunteers, talk to them and ask them. We are not doctors, we are not here part of the treatment, we are not authorities, we are not municipal officials, but we care for you, so we made a phone call because you're going through this COVID. Would you like to talk to me? We have been so far given in the last 1.5 months about 320 such numbers. It is unbelievable that almost 95% of the people said, yes, I would like to talk to you. Can you please talk to me? Just about 5% people said, no, it's okay, I'm fine. Thank you, I don't need to talk to you. 95% of the patients said, will you talk to me? And what is it that they're talking? Not about the disease, not about this, that. Just inquiring how is life. Or sometimes a person just asks, am I going to die? And what I have trained our counselors to reply is, yes, you're going to die. And they get a shock. And then they continue. Yes, you are going to die. I am going to die. Our children are going to die. Our grandchildren are going to die. Everybody is going to die. It's only a question of when. So when we have this, thing that yes, death is going to be inevitable, let's talk about how you are. One person says, I've got very bad throat pain, that's why I've been put in here. One person says that every now and then I need some oxygen and this and that. So they've said that you be in the hospital and this and that. And they just go on talking about it, or they say, I'm very concerned about my elderly mother, or I'm concerned about my child, or whatever it is. They just go on talking. And that is opening so many doors. So many different activities are happening. There is so much of this bonding that I said, that the social and the emotional aspects of life. Behavioral scientists have already told us that 80% of our fulfillment, happiness, satisfaction, and joy is based on our emotional quotient, the EQ, not on the IQ, the buddhi. Using the IQ has become redundant because machines, computers, robots can do anything which human beings can do much faster. Whether it's calculation, whether it is language, whether it is just about anything, machines are slowly taking over. What is the one thing that machines will never be able to take over? Robots and computers will never be able to take over. It is the human emotions. And that is where the whole crux of life is. And this challenge, this thing which has come in, is now an opportunity for us to rise to the occasion, to take it as a challenge, to take it as a wake-up call. I know of so many people who are what they say, upwardly mobile, constantly jumping from one job to another, going on to dizzying heights of incomes, booking amazing, luxurious houses and apartments costing crores of rupees, running up EMIs, which are 60-70% of their salary. And they thought life is just going to be that and nothing else. And I think this is one way that God said, okay, let these children not, go out of control and start thinking of themselves as mini gods. Let them also know that there is a reality of life. Nothing great is going to happen. Some of them may lose that house or something of that sort. Somebody may lose their job. Nothing great is going to happen. Life goes on. Somebody will earn less. Somebody will have to move to a smaller house. Somebody will have to migrate somewhere. It's all part of life. But our social and emotional aspects, am I in control over my life? Do I have good relationships? I was mentioning about mental health. My very simple definition of mental health, please don't quote this to any mental health professional because he'll hit me. It is as simple as saying peace within yourself and harmony with others. That's all. That is mental health. Peace within myself. I'm not perpetually scared, paranoid, wondering, what will happen to me? Will my family get COVID? Will I die? Will somebody else die? What will happen? My father is coughing. Has he got COVID? No, peace. Whatever has to happen will happen. Ke sara sara. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. But today is ours to see. If my father is coughing, can I get him a warm glass of water and sit with him and hold his hand? And that's what he needs today more than anything else. If I can do that. And after peace within yourself, equally important is harmony with others. Who others? Our own near and dear. This is a very simple message. I don't know whether I'm being oversimplistic, and sometimes when I say these things, people say, yes, what you have said, we know. Nothing great, nothing new about it. I'm not saying that I'm teaching you some rocket science, or I'm not saying that I'm a great philosopher. All I'm saying is, periodically we need to sit up and think, I know a lot. God has given me this brain, which is a huge organ, which is so amazing, better than the best of computers. Yet, after storing all the knowledge, it is how much you use. A computer may have 1,000 different programs loaded up, but unless you use the program, the computer is of no use. The same thing with the human mind. What am I using it for? How much am I practicing these very simple things that I have been talking about? That is my simple message to all of you. Please excuse me if I've overstepped my boundaries. I know many of you are far more educated, far more wiser and capable and better experiences of life. But nonetheless, whenever I get this opportunity, I do want to share. So I would like to, wind up with two very interesting things. You have all heard of our great poet, Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore, almost 100 years back, wrote this amazing poem. I'll just read it out to you in a minute. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arm towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into even widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Almost 100 years back, 100 years since Guruji Rabindranath Tagore said this, I think this is far more relevant today. And in the worst scenario, we always say, no, always be prepared for the worst. In the worst scenario, something will happen. I may acquire COVID, I may even die of COVID, but then, as I said, I could have died of anything else. Here again, Guruji Rabindranath Tagore has said something very beautiful in his, bestseller, the Gitanjali. He said, on the day when death will knock at thy door, what will thou offer to him? Oh, I will set before my guest the full vessel of my life. I will never let him go with empty hands. Here, I give back the keys of my door, and I give up all claims to my house. All our houses are transitory. Our house lies somewhere far, far, far beyond. So let us be happy citizens. Let us be good human beings. But let us ensure that we spread this tiny goodness to 1, 2, 3 people around us. I think that is the best thing that we can do in our life. And if we all practice this, it will have a ripple effect, and life will be much more smoother, even in the worst of pandemics and lockdowns and whatever keeps coming our way. We will face all of them all together as one humanity, as all people who have surrendered themselves to the Almighty and who have this faith that the Almighty will never let us down. He will just put us through some challenges. And as long as we maintain our senility, as long as we maintain our balance, and we have the hope and the faith, life in the end will move on to something which is bliss. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, and I look forward to hearing from all of you.
Dr. Ali, thank you very much for this beautiful presentation, sharing your thoughts and perhaps more personal experience. You have reminded us very firmly, saying nobody can affect our minds unless we allow it to do so. You would like, I mean, you said we should look at from a well-being point of view and not a kind of mental illness. And everything has got a kind of long-term perspective. And perhaps the things that are haunting us at present will definitely pass, and they are not a permanent future. So therefore, there are also other aspects of like depression, disorders, and violence during this pandemic, which is largely unreported. Perhaps more emphasis is laid on the virus and its spread. I think that is what you have also highlighted, and saying human being primarily a social animal, and we want one another, we want our neighbors for our happy living, and the whole reminder of that serenity prayer, especially to make out the difference, what we can change and what we cannot change. I think that is very much required for our life today. And you are, I think, a very simple and beautiful definition of mental health, that is to be have peace within oneself and also to be in harmony with our neighbor, with one another. I think that is where, and perhaps we should move, as Tagore says, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, our country, and we should rise together to that kind of state of affairs, way of living and our mindset. So thank you once again for all your thoughts and sharing. Now it's a time for some interaction. Perhaps people will ask some questions or have their sharing as well. I have received two questions. The first question is, what are the warning signs or danger signs that a person is having mental health issues? If the person is perhaps is refusing to unlock, what are the danger signs that we need to observe and understand the person?
Yes, when you find your patience levels going down, when you find your sense of humor going down, when you cannot accept even small things, a little bit of tea drops on the table, and I start getting very irritated or very upset about it. When I start watching TV or some media, and then I start and going on and on repeating that sort of thing. So whenever we find that whatever that and those things that we have, it is going down lower than that level. If I am becoming a little more short-tempered than what I was, if I'm losing interest in things which I was already interested in, whatever, I may be interested in cricket and music and whatever it is, but if I find that I'm losing interest in things which I used to be interested, those are the first and the most simplest indicators.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, what should be social responsibility? Now, some people have survived this lockdown and they have fought hard and perhaps fought positively. And there are also people still struggling, that elderly people, people with disability, people, street vendors, people, daily wage laborers. They are struggling still on the street. It is not only mental struggle, it is also economic struggle. It is a life struggle. Now, how to understand them, first of all, and secondly, how to reach them out. What is the harmony here? Is only a good word, or a harmony means what exactly? Are we speaking about social justice, or we are only speaking about a good word to our neighbor? What exactly? That is the question.
No, beyond the good word for people who are at that level of subsistence, where, either because of physical ailments or because of economic difficulties they are going through, what we need to do is to identify what is their need. You may have heard that in the beginning, when some philanthropists or even the government started giving food packets to the migrant laborers, because lockdown had come and restaurants and everything was closed. But many of those laborers said, the type of food that you are giving us, let's say they were from UP, Bihar or somewhere, And they were being given typical South Indian food. And they said, this food is not palatable to us. We can't eat this food. So sometimes we make these very small mistakes of presuming what they other people want. So here is a poor person, so if I give him this money or if I give him this, let us take the trouble of inquiring, asking what he wants. Let us treat that person as a human being first, and then a recipient of our charity. Observe closely, ask questions, review after 1 day, 2 days. Join hands, 2, 3 of us can get together and go out in the neighborhood and find out, okay, there's some construction site, there are some laborers here, or there's a slum there, or whatever it is. If we find out what their needs are and then fulfill them, I think we can go a very, very long way. Some of them, their only need is how to get into some train or something so that they reach home. They don't want to be here. But somehow they're not succeeding. They're illiterate people. They're not being able to do it. As educated people, probably I can make 1 or 2 telephone calls, find out from somebody who is knowledgeable and arrange for that thing. And if that ticket costs some money and he cannot afford, if I can ask 5 friends of mine to contribute 20% of the ticket, I'm sure it will be such a small amount to each one of us that 5 of us can get together and buy those few tickets and give it out. So there's a lot that still has to be done, despite the fact that the unlock has been lifted and all that. As I agree with Father that there are a lot of people who are still going through a lot of economic, challenges and survival challenges.
Yeah, thank you. One more question is what about the social stigma that COVID patients suffer?
Yes.
How to support them? What is your experience in this case? Now, there is a lot of, the very fact that untouchability is coming back. People are, those are positive, feel terrible because nobody comes closer to them, and that is more frightening than the virus itself. How to handle this, the whole thing? You may be open, but your neighbor is not open. Neighbor is frightened. How do we reconcile this aspect? Yeah.
One of the things that we have done is, one of the first people who got COVID in Bangalore city, right in March, she and her family, a student of mine, she and her family had gone abroad and had just come back. And when they started the first of the testing, she, her husband and 1 son were, tested positive. They went through a little bit of a bad time. 2 days, she was very miserable. She was coughing so badly, she thought that she's going to die. Husband and son, not so much of physical pain. But since it was the initial stage, for 15 days, they were kept in quarantine and all that. Finally, they came out. I was in touch with her on phone every day. Once she came out, I asked her that, are you feeling comfortable enough to step out? Don't talk to your neighbors and this and that because you have that stigma, but are you willing to step out? And by the time when the lockdown had been lifted and we started operating our academy also, I invited her. And after that, every webinar that we were having, every program or any training or anything that we were having, I was presenting her. And she would come in front and say, here I am, I got COVID, my husband got COVID, my son got COVID, which was horrifying for me. And I'm fit and fine. And anybody wants a hug from me, I am willing to give it to them. It was so heartening. And then after that, we have started picking out as many people as possible who are willing to do the same. Today, we have a team of about 15 to 20 survivors of COVID who are coming on public platforms with us, talking to people. If I had known, I would have invited one of them to come here and talk to you. And if you just hear them out, you see, the face of a person who says that I went through COVID and here I am fit and fine, and I'm talking to you and I'm even willing to meet you and shake hands with you or whatever it is. So we have to do it at a one-to-one level. Since there is still uncertainty of how it spreads, where it spreads, the stigma is very much there. Even if down the road from my house, somebody has got it, the whole road used to be blocked up, if you remember. All those things we have gone through. Happily, I think that it is reducing. I think things are improving. But each one of us can contribute like this by using people who have recovered from COVID. And there are tens of thousands of them all around us. If we can use them. Obviously, everybody would not be willing. There are people who will say, no, there's too much stigma. I don't want anybody to know. But even if 5% out of those are willing, pick them up and start talking to them. Firstly, welcome them back into society and say, I am one who's not scared of you. I am willing to be with you and entertain you or whatever is the need. And secondly, if you are open, let us tell society, let us tell our neighbors, let us tell whoever is willing to listen that here you are, right in front of you is a person who had COVID, who has recovered and is leading a perfectly normal life.
Oh, yes. Doctor, there's one more question. How to live with hope and peace despite having hopeless and helpless situations in and around us? What do you suggest? How to spread that message of hope around? I mean, there is a lot of hopelessness, a lot of culture of death, there's a lot of darkness around. How do we, spread that message?
Why is this happening is primarily because of the media, social media, whatever you want to call it. As I said right in the beginning, all that we are hearing every day without fail is how many more people got infected. How many in Bangalore, how many in Karnataka, how many in India, and how many in the whole world. Now, when you look at those numbers, they look so horrifying. It looks as though, I'm going to be the next person who's going to die. As educated and rational people, can we sit down and talk about what is the percentage of people? Let us take Bangalore, our own, city. What is the percentage of people who have actually been hit with, COVID vis-a-vis the total population of the city? When you look at it that way, some realistic figures come in. Okay. And out of those who have been infected, how many actually died? The number is so minuscule. In the same, instance, the same time period between March and now, more people have died of cancer, more people have died of other, serious ailments, more people have died with heart ailments. So many other things have also happened, but nobody wants to talk about it. And that is how we need to help them to understand that hope, of course, is that the vaccine will come and this and that. But I will even, address the helplessness. Why do you feel helpless? What is it that is happening to you? What is the threat? As though there's a monster lurking outside your door. Step out and see what is happening in the world. Reach out to somebody. Have that satisfaction that I reached out to a poor person down the road and I fed him when he was starving. So even if I die, I know God has washed me, and if I'm dying, God will take me to heaven or whatever it is. Don't we have that basic faith in whatever, the Almighty and things of that sort? That is what we need to keep spreading the message.
Yeah, thank you. These are the questions. Anybody else in the group wants to directly ask the question? These were some of the questions in the chat box. Yes, Professor Bhatia, kindly unmute yourself, unmute.
I enjoyed every bit of it, and I really congratulate him bringing out one concept very clearly. It is a small things which matters most in the world, not the big one. That is number one. And this message which he has given, don't be afraid and don't give a fear to others from any of the that whatever is there coming to us. So we have to understand the reality and try to make others understand. And third point, which he has brought out very clearly, and I think it is the most workable solution, that we should try to give what others need. So we should be very specific on that point, that first let us understand what precisely will help them, help any one of them, any one of our colleagues around us, or including ourselves, and try to give that, because that is what a value rather than just pouring something out just like that. So that will definitely, and have faith on self, have faith on the God, and accept the final thing is anyway going to happen. Why we are only afraid of dying out of this? It could have been written that it is the only way for us, because we know when we have come, our parents know, everybody knows, but when we are going to do, how we are going to go back, that is not known. That is known to him only, right? And this is the truth, that it is not known and it is very positive. So why fear? We have only fear from the unknown. Something which is well known And that's a confidence every one of us we have. And that itself is a great strength which can be used very positively. People understand, fine. If they don't understand, our contribution towards society and our this will be definitely this that make them very positive from within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that observation. There is one more question in the chat box. Sorry, I forgot. Did not notice that. Someone in my friend circle lost his 42-year-old son to COVID. Was the only sole earner of the family. How to console someone who has lost someone to this pandemic? This is the question.
Yes, Ms. Anupama, what I would like to say is that family has lost their son to death, not to this pandemic. The same 42-year-old young man could have died of a road accident. He could have died of food poisoning. He could have died from various things. It is an incidental that he died from this virus called COVID-19. Exactly the same as you have been consoling. I'm sure all of us have had people, families who have lost a near and dear, or even a younger person who was at the prime of his life. What did we do? We went there, we sat with them, we held their hands. If there was a need to give them a cup of tea or some food, we gave it to them. We allowed them to cry on our shoulders. We reinforced the faith in them that whatever happens is for the good, and however tragic today life looks for you, it is part of a bigger, plan of the Almighty. And just be there. Allow that person to go on and on and on talking. That person may be angry, that person may be frustrated, that person may be going into depression. Just deal with the emotions of that person. And do it for sufficient number of time. One thing that I've seen is that when a death takes place, for the next few days, there's this horde of relatives and neighbors and friends who keep coming. In fact, they make life miserable for the family because there are too many people coming over there. And then one by one, they all disappear. And one fine day, the family wakes up and realizes that we are left all alone. That is the time when I want you to reach out to them. When the ceremonies are over, when the relatives and friends have gone, then go and talk to them and say, how are you feeling now? And just let them talk. Somebody may be frustrated, somebody may be angry with doctor, somebody may be even angry with God. Let him bring out his frustration and his anger. The more that person talks to you, the faster will be the healing. That's all that we need to do.
Thank you, Doctor. Any other question? And one last question, if anybody wants to ask. Yes, Prakash.
Actually, it's not a question. It is a request. Khwaja Sahib said that they are into service of controlling the patient. So, how can we join the team? Is my question.
How can we
join his team so that we can also contribute to the work what you are doing, sir?
Oh yes, Mr. Prakash. You are welcome to join our team. Just get in touch with us. Those of you who are interested in any of our activities and all that, we do free counseling even otherwise. It's not connected only to this COVID and all that. We have been doing it for the last 35 years, and hopefully we'll continue to do it, COVID or no COVID. And we always look for volunteers. We always look for like-minded people who are interested in becoming part of our team. You can either log on to our website, which is banjaraacademy.org. It's one word, banjaraacademy.org. And in that, our phone numbers and all that have been given. We are fully functional. We are working 6 days a week. You can make a call, talk to us, and then we will discuss further as to how you would like to associate, what we are doing. And the website will also give you our activities, what we are doing in different types of activities. That itself will give you some idea. And then either you or anybody known to you wants to join hands. We always welcome people who are willing to give up their own without any vested interest. I always salute our volunteers.
Thank you very much, sir. Because we are doing it only in our area, so that we can extend our service to the other areas also. That is my interest.
That's right. We can definitely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, one last question, since people do not have other questions. Now, what has happened with this pandemic is somebody else is blamed. The neighbor is blamed for the pandemic, for the virus to come. Therefore, there's a lot of suspicion that is growing around. I mean, my neighbor may be causing a problem for me. Therefore, I start looking at my neighbor very suspiciously. This is a kind of bad, in a way, very inhuman development that is taking place. It's true that we should be responsible to our neighbor. I think perhaps what is the response here? How to? They're both. We should be also be able to responsible to our neighbor. Secondly, how to understand our neighbor without suspicion, or perhaps without blaming the neighbor already in anticipation. What do you have to say there?
We need to work at two levels. One is whatever is the immediate this thing. One of our volunteers who had immediate neighbor, their the wife and mother-in-law were COVID positive, and they decided to. They had a separate flat which was empty, so they were in quarantine there. But other neighbors got very angry, and when this person was interacting with them and trying to help them out and all that, they got very angry with him. He took it in the stride. And he started calling up each one of his neighbors individually to say that, please understand what would have happened if instead of that old lady, it was your mother. What is it that they have done there? No, being COVID positive, we don't want them anywhere near us. They should be taken away to hospital. Would you send away your mother to hospital if she were doing this? Very gently, very firmly. There were about 8 or 10 neighbors in the immediate vicinity. He constantly kept in touch with them for almost a week. And then they came out with this thing that this whole street has to be sanitized and we have to spray some disinfectants and this and that. He said, yes, go ahead. Let us all pull in, and whatever money it costs, let's put it and let's do that. But let us not put that blame. And he succeeded. At the end of that 1 week, people realized, some of them even came and apologized, saying that this is what we've done. That is at the immediate level. But in the long-term level, Father, we need to ask ourselves, why is it that one trigger and we started hating our neighbor? That means somewhere deep inside, we have not accepted people who are different from us. We still are harboring that, suspicion or anger or hatred or whatever, that, this person is of this community or that caste or that religion or that faith or all those type of things. I think in the long run, we have to do. We need, I think, even in Bangalore city, at least 1,000 interreligious harmony movements. The one that has been there and which I have been having the good fortune to observe closely for the last 30 years, the IRHM has done immense work. Father, today I meet, we used to have Patrick Castellino and Father Ronnie used to do a 2-day program for students. Every they were given an exposure. Bhattacharya was also one of the resource person there and all those things. Now, when today I meet a middle-aged man and he says, sir, you may not know me, but I am this. I used to be studying in St. Joseph's, 25 years back. And we had this thing in Ashirwad and, you are one of the people. Sir, till that time, I used to hate Muslims, But when you spoke about 1.5 hours and you didn't even speak, you only answered our questions. And I suddenly realized that Muslims are like any Hindu, Christian, Sikh or anything of that sort. My whole thing changed. So that is our little contribution that all of us can make, pandemic or no pandemic, that there is suspicion. There is some, rippling, unhappiness or hatred or jealousies or whatever it is. We should follow the norms of IRHM and see that this spreads to the entire community, where even in the best of times, we get to have more peace and understanding among people who are different from us.
Thank you for that beautiful message and also perhaps summary. Yes, Prakash, your hand is up.
Yes, Father. So I just want to add a little to our speaker's explanation. So regarding the question what you put forth, that is accusing the neighbor. Well, but the question also, you said when a neighbor is infected, people start blaming him, right? Hello, are you getting
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
So
your
here,
speech is not very clear, Prakash. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
so here what I would like to say is, this pandemic is not a airborne spreading disease. So it is only your precaution will save you. So the steps taken by you is your savior. And you need not blame the other person who is going to infect, because it doesn't, it's not an infectious disease like any other diseases like your old plague, cholera, such things. So if you take precaution, you can be safe. So there is no point in blaming others. This has to be taught, or that is enlightened to the general public. So they need not blame the person who has been infected with COVID. So it is not transferring the infectious disease. So that is the thing what people have to understand first. Then automatically they will not point out at the neighbor or the person who is infected. So let them build their own there is a immunity level. When once they build their immunity level, automatically the virus will not affect them. So this is more important. So only this I wanted to add to our speaker's reply.
Yeah, so one last question by Anupama. Should one insist that seniors should stay at home for the good of their health, avoid any gathering? Till when do you think this effect of pandemic will last? This is a little crisis situation.
That's right. That's right. I will answer your second question first. I don't think there's any astrologer in the city who can predict how long this effect of the pandemic will last. Probably vaccines are around the corner, 3 to 6 months, and we will have vaccines. But will that help us to unlock our minds? After giving the vaccine to my child, am I willing to send him to school, or will I wait to see whether any other child with the vaccine still got the COVID or not? So that is going to take a very, very long time. Talking about seniors, I was telling you that we have this team of volunteers. The most effective, most active volunteer who 6 days a week from about 9 a.m. to at least 7 a.m. is on his feet. He is visiting hospitals, he is going, taking people for treatment, he is counseling people, he is doing all that. He is only 83 years old. He is Mr. Ramaswamy. It is amazing to see the type of work, and he's not the only one. I'm saying that because he's outstanding among all our volunteers. Nobody is doing as much active work as Mr. Ramaswamy is doing, but we have another dozen who are at least 70, 75, 80 years old and are happily going ahead and doing whatever work they can. So age is just a number. It does not mean that an 80-year-old is more liable than a 40-year-old. Just now somebody mentioned about a 42-year-old young man who died of COVID. Probably his 80-year-old father may still be fit and fine. So I don't think that just that because of that age. Yes, since we become a little weaker and a little more susceptible as we grow older, little more precautions have to be taken. But again, we cannot lock our minds and say, I am 70 years or 90 years or whatever it is, so I'm going to lock myself in till this whole COVID goes away. That is not the right thing to do.
Yeah, Philo, your hand is up with a question. Or it is only a statement. If your mind is strong, age is only a number. That is what she has posted, I think. Yeah. So, Doctor, thank you very much for your sharing and for answering all the questions, queries, and accepting various reactions very gently. And
can I make a quick comment?
Oh,
I
yes.
couldn't raise my hand, sorry.
Yes, Doctor, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that it's very rare to find someone who has good understanding of the science and also the social and also the political and the psychological aspect of this COVID, and also kind of a larger understanding. So I wanted to thank you and tell you that it's very special, your session today.
Thank you for that comment, Dr. Sylvia. Yeah. You have very patiently and very gently given the right orientation that we need during this pandemic, how to unlock our minds, despite the situation outside is not very bright, and we need to be supporting one another by being peaceful within, and also trying constantly in harmony with our neighbor. So, Dr. Ali, I would like to thank you very much for spending time with us and guiding us in this group. And I believe that you will continue to be with us to guide us in various different capacities and different forums. So, once again, I thank you for all your uh, guidance, the suggestions that you have given, and sharing more than that, sharing your own personal experience and involvement with the people, instilling hope in the people, helping them and enabling them to be positive in their approach to life. So thank you very much. I would like to also thank Mr. Prakash. Prakash has done a lot of background work, contacting people and contacting the resource persons. Thank you, Prakash, very much. And I also take this opportunity to thank all the participants. Participants now online advantages. People are joining from different places, and there is a uh, forum to interact and listen to one another. So I thank all the participants for joining and actively participating in this interaction as well. Let us end this prayer meeting and a prayer with a small prayer. Merciful God, today I fix my mind on whatever is true, whatever is worthy of reverence and is honorable and seemly, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely and lovable, whatever is winsome and gracious. Today I roll my works upon you. Lord, I commit and trust them wholly to you. You will cause my thoughts to become agreeable to your divine will. Amen. So once again, thank you, and keep safe and be positive. Keep unlocking your minds and hearts as well during this pandemic, as Dr. Ali has very well suggested to us. And as you are aware, we have regular meetings on second Sunday and fourth Sunday of every month at 4:30. And also we have a WhatsApp group. Anyone of you want to be a part of that group, you are welcome. Secondly, we have a Facebook page of Ashirwad Interreligious Harmony. You can be the friend in that group as well, Facebook page as well. Let us continue to spread this message of harmony, message of peace, moreover, the message of and the culture of love in our society. So once again, thank you very much for joining, and God bless us all. Thank you.